For 3,000 years, the sands of Egypt have guarded their secrets. We've unearthed golden pharaohs, mapped sprawling necropolises, and translated tales of gods and kings. We thought we knew the story. We believed the great mysteries had been solved. We were wrong. Across the country, a new wave of discoveries is underway. From temple complexes in the north to the sun-scorched burial grounds of the south, archaeologists are uncovering evidence that challenges everything we thought we knew. These aren't just broken shards of pottery or forgotten tombs. When pieced together, they reveal a chapter of Egyptian civilization that is far more advanced and far more mysterious than we ever imagined. This is not just a story of gold and splendor. It's a story of knowledge, of a people who didn't simply worship the stars, but who sought to understand them. What's being uncovered today doesn't just add a footnote to history. It forces us to rewrite it and to hear echoes that refuse to fade. Our story begins not with treasure maps or whispered legends, but with a name, Hieroglyphs. In the sprawling Saqqara necropolis, home to the Step Pyramid, archaeologists descended a 50-foot shaft. At the bottom, hidden for over 4,000 years, they found a limestone sarcophagus, still perfectly sealed with mortar. When that seal was cracked, the past came rushing out. Inside lay one of the oldest and most complete non-royal mummies ever discovered, dating back an astonishing 4,300 years. His body was adorned with delicate gold leaf, a dazzling sign of wealth and reverence. In an era where such treatment was usually reserved for pharaohs, one question rose immediately. Who was this man? The site offered more clues. Nearby were the tombs of other powerful men. Miri, a high-ranking palace official, carried the title Keeper of the Secrets, a sacred role entrusted with rituals, texts, and knowledge hidden from common eyes. Another tomb belonged to Khnumjdef, a priest and inspector tied to the pyramid complex of a 5th dynasty king. These weren't kings, yet they lived at the beating heart of royal power. They belonged to an elite class that shaped Egypt from the shadows. Their wealth and their secrecy suggest a society far more complex than we imagine. But what were the secrets they guarded so carefully? The answer was waiting, scattered across Egypt's sands, waiting for those willing to listen. To glimpse their world, we must step into the realm where divine authority and mortal conflict collided. Centuries after Hieroglyphs, during the reign of Ramses II, Egypt stood at the height of its power. Recently, in the Nile Delta, archaeologists uncovered something that made this era feel suddenly alive. At a 3,200-year-old military fort, buried near a vulnerable entry point, they found a bronze sword. This was no ceremonial blade. It bore the cartouche of Ramses II himself. It may have been a personal gift from the pharaoh to a commander, an emblem of loyalty and a promise of violence. It was a weapon meant for real combat, meant to defend the empire. But Egypt's power wasn't wielded only in battle. It reached into the afterlife itself. At Oxyrhynchus, mummies were unearthed with tongues of pure gold, not ornaments, but ritual devices. These golden tongues were meant to allow the dead to speak directly to the gods, to address Osiris himself, to plead for safe passage into eternity. A soldier's sword and a golden tongue. One controlled the living, the other sought to control the judgment of the dead. Both reveal the same truth. Egypt was obsessed with power. Power on earth, power in the afterlife, power that echoed long after death. And their mastery did not stop with mortals or gods. They reached even higher, toward the stars. One of Egypt's greatest mysteries is its flawless alignment with the heavens. The Great Pyramids are perfectly aligned with true north, an achievement so precise it still baffles modern engineers. How did they do it? With crude tools and guesswork, or something more? In the Nile Delta, a discovery may hold the answer. Archaeologists unearthed a massive mud brick structure dating to the 6th century BC, believed to be one of Egypt's earliest astronomical observatories. Its design was brilliant. The entrance faced east, aligned with the rising sun. Inside, a 16-foot limestone slab and carefully positioned stone blocks tracked solar movement with remarkable accuracy. Nearby, a slanted sundial offered another way to measure time. But this wasn't simply about counting hours. On a raised platform, engravings depicted astronomical events tied to Egypt's 3 seasons. This was not ritual alone. It was research, a center dedicated to observing, recording, and understanding the cosmos. It suggests something revolutionary. Egypt's monumental architecture wasn't guided by myth, but by institutionalized science. The astronomer priests who oversaw these observations were the true keepers of secrets. Their knowledge bound heaven to earth, gods to kings, time to eternity, and their echoes still guide us when we look to the stars. Taken alone, each of these discoveries fascinates, but together they form a mosaic, a pattern that forces us to rethink Egypt itself. We began with Hecashepes, entombed in gold, a man of power outside the royal line. We found the bronze sword of Ramses II, symbolizing the reach of military strength. We uncovered golden tongues, ritual tools meant to speak to gods. And then the observatory, proof of a civilization that measured the cosmos with precision. This wasn't a society ruled by blind superstition. It was a civilization layered with science, ritual, politics, and war, each feeding the other. Their mastery of astronomy wasn't for festivals alone. It was woven into their architecture, their agriculture, their monuments. It explains how they commanded the floods of the Nile, how they planned their temples, how they built wonders that have endured for millennia. Egypt's story is no longer about mighty pharaohs. It is about the figures who stood behind them. The generals, the priests, the astronomers, the secret keepers. These were the minds who turned divine will into earthly power. And now, thanks to these discoveries, their voices are beginning to echo back through time. Even now, Egypt is still speaking to us. In the tombs of Abu Sir, tunnels stretch unexplored. Beneath the waves of Alexandria, entire cities remain buried. The sands and the seas are not finished. They are still keeping watch, still waiting to whisper their truths. We began with a tomb, but the tomb we are opening is the very idea of Egypt itself. Each new find strips away myth and reveals something deeper. Not a civilization ruled by superstition, but one built on profound knowledge. The mummy of Hecashepes, the sword of a pharaoh, the tongues of gold, the observatory aligned to the rising sun. Each whispers the same truth. We underestimated them, and the search has only just begun. The sands have not given up their final secret. Perhaps we are only now finding the key. If you want to see what comes next, subscribe and join us. There are more tombs to open, because history never dies. It just echoes.